Taiho wiped the grease from his hands and looked at the atmospheric regulator he had just fixed. It was old technology, almost 20 years past its replacement date, but he had made it work again. That was what he did. He fixed things that others wanted to throw away. The engineering bay was quiet now. Most of the crew had gone to the mess hall for dinner, but Taiho preferred to work when no one was around. The silence helped him think. The space station Horizon's Edge was home to thousands of beings from dozens of different worlds, and sometimes the noise became too much for him. He was putting away his tools when he heard footsteps behind him. They were soft and measured, not the heavy boots of his fellow engineers. He turned around and felt his breath catch in his throat. Lyra stood at the entrance of the engineering bay. She was Velanthy, one of the elegant aliens with pale blue skin and silver hair that seemed to glow under any light. She worked in the diplomatic wing, far from the dirty machinery and oil stains of his world. He had seen her many times in the corridors and the mess hall, always surrounded by important people, always carrying herself like someone who knew exactly what she wanted. What was she doing here? Taiho, she said. Her voice was calm and clear, like water running over smooth stones. I have been looking for you, he blinked. Me. Is there a problem with your department's life support systems? I can send someone to check, no. She walked closer to him. He noticed that her silver eyes were fixed on his face with an intensity that made him uncomfortable. I am not here about machines. Taiho did not know what to say. He stood there, holding a wrench, feeling very aware of the grease stains on his uniform and the sweat on his forehead. He had not showered yet. He probably smelled like engine coolant. Lyra stopped a few feet away from him. She was tall, almost as tall as him, and she looked at him the way a scientist might look at a fascinating specimen. I have been observing you for some time, she said. Observing me? Yes, I find you interesting. Taiho felt his face grow warm. On his home planet, people did not speak so directly. There were layers of politeness, indirect hints, careful approaches. This felt like being hit by a transport shuttle. Not sure what you mean, he managed to say. Lyra tilted her head slightly. I will be clear then. In Velanthy culture, we do not waste time with confusion. I am attracted to you, Taiho. I wish to pursue a romantic relationship with you. The wrench slipped from his hand and clattered on the floor. The sound echoed through the empty engineering bay. Taiho stared at her, his mind completely blank. What? I have chosen you as a potential mate, Lyra continued, as if she was discussing the weather. Your species fascinates me. Humans are warm, emotionally complex, and physically resilient. But beyond your species, I find you specifically appealing. You are kind to those below your rank. You work with patience and dedication. You do not seek attention or praise. These are qualities I value. Taiho finally found his voice. Lyra, I am honored. Really I am. But I do not think this is a good idea. Her expression did not change. Why not? Well, for one thing, we are different species. There could be compatibility problems. And we work on the same station. It could make things complicated. And he searched for more reasons. I am just an engineer. You are a diplomatic liaison. We move in different worlds. Lyra listened to everything he said. When he finished, she nodded slowly. I understand, she said. You are declining my offer. I am sorry. I do not want to be rude. You are. You are very beautiful, and any man would be lucky too. You do not need to explain further. She raised one hand, stopping him. I respect your decision. Taiho felt relief wash over him. That had been easier than he expected. He bent down to pick up his wrench, grateful that the awkward moment was over. Thank you for understanding, he said. I hope this does not affect our professional relationship. Of course not. Lyra turned to leave, but she paused at the doorway. She looked back at him over her shoulder, and something in her silver eyes made him feel uneasy. It was not anger. It was not sadness. It was something else entirely, something that looked almost like patience. Good night, Taiho, she said. I will see you soon. She left, and Taiho stood alone in the engineering bay. Wondering why those simple words sounded so much like a promise, He went back to his quarters and took a long shower, trying to wash away the strange feeling that clung to him. He told himself that he had done the right thing. Starting a relationship with an alien, especially one as important as Lyra, would only bring problems. He was a simple man who liked simple things. He fixed machines. He ate his meals. He did not need complications. The next morning, he woke up to a message on his terminal. It was an official notice from the station's administrative office. He read it 3 times to make sure he understood correctly. He had been reassigned. Effective immediately, he was no longer working in the engineering bay. Instead, he had been transferred to the diplomatic wing as a human relations consultant. His new supervisor was Lyra. Taiho sat on the edge of his bed, staring at the screen. His heart was beating fast. He had a sinking feeling in his stomach. He grabbed his communicator and called his best friend Sunwoo, who answered with a sleepy groan. "What do you want?" "It is 6 in the morning. "I think I am in trouble," Taiho said. "What kind of trouble?" Taiho looked at the transfer notice again. He thought about Lyra's silver eyes and the patience he had seen in them, the kind that does not take no for an answer. Taiho stood in front of the diplomatic wing, wearing a new uniform that felt strange on his body. It was cleaner than anything he had ever worn at work. There were no pockets for tools, no stains allowed, no comfortable looseness around the shoulders. He felt like a fish that had been pulled out of water and put into a fancy bowl. The door slid open, and he stepped inside. The diplomatic wing was nothing like the engineering bay. Everything was bright and polished. The walls were decorated with art from 100 different worlds. Aliens of various species walked past him, speaking in languages he did not understand. Dressed in clothes that probably cost more than his yearly salary, he did not belong here, Taiho. Lyra appeared beside him so quietly that he almost jumped. She was wearing a formal white dress that made her blue skin look even more striking. She smiled at him, and it was a warm smile, but he could see something else behind it. Satisfaction, maybe? Or victory. "Good morning," he said, trying to keep his voice professional. "I received the transfer notice. I am not sure why I am here, though. I do not know anything about diplomacy. You know about humans," Lyra said. "And humans are becoming increasingly important in galactic affairs. The Council needs someone who can explain human behavior, human customs, human thinking. You are perfect for this role. There are other humans on this station. Humans who actually studied these things, but I requested you specifically." She began walking, and he had no choice but to follow. "Your first duty is to accompany me to meetings. Watch, listen, learn. When I need your insight, I will ask for it." Taiho wanted to argue, but he knew it was pointless. The transfer was official. If he refused to work, he would be sent back to Earth on the next transport ship. And despite everything, he did not want to leave Horizon's Edge. It had become his home, so he followed Lyra into his new life. The first week was exhausting. He sat through meetings where alien politicians argued about trade routes and territorial boundaries. He attended dinners where the food looked beautiful but tasted like nothing he could describe. He smiled at ambassadors who looked at him like he was an exotic pet. Through it all, Lyra was there. She was always professional in public, never crossing any lines, never making him uncomfortable in front of others. But in small ways, she made her intentions clear. She learned that he liked his drinks hot. And suddenly, there was always a warm cup waiting for him at every meeting. She noticed that he shivered slightly in the cold Valantha standard temperatures, and the rooms he worked in became warmer. She memorized his schedule and always seemed to appear at the right moment. With a gentle word or a piece of information he needed, she was not just pursuing him. She was studying him, learning him, adapting to him. It was terrifying. "You need to accept reality," Sunwoo said one evening. They were sitting in Sunwoo's quarters, sharing a bottle of soju that someone had smuggled from Earth. "She has chosen you. That is it. Game over." "It is not a game," Taiho said. "And I did not agree to anything." Sunwoo laughed. "Do you know anything about Valanthi culture? They mate for life, brother. Once they pick someone, they do not change their minds. They are patient, they wait, they outlast." "How do you know so much about this?" "I did research after you called me that morning." Sunwoo poured another drink. You are being hunted, Taiho. Not in a dangerous way. More like a very slow, very polite siege. She will not force you. She will just be there, being perfect, until you surrender. Taiho drank his soju and said nothing. The truth was, it was working. He did not want to admit it. But he was starting to look forward to seeing Lyra. She was intelligent and funny in a dry way that surprised him. She listened when he talked about engineering, even though she probably found it boring. She remembered small things he mentioned and brought them up later, showing that she paid attention to him in a way no one else ever had. But he was stubborn. He told himself that he was just doing his job. He told himself that he was not interested in her. He told himself many lies. 3 weeks into his new position, Lyra approached him after a late meeting. The conference room was empty, and the station's artificial night had begun. Through the windows, he could see the stars stretching out forever. "You have done well today," she said. "Your insights about human negotiation tactics were valuable." He gathered his things, ready to return to his quarters. "Taiho?" Her voice made him stop. "I would like to discuss tomorrow's schedule with you. There are some complex matters that require preparation. Can we not discuss them now? It will take some time. I would prefer to do it in a more comfortable setting." She paused. "My quarters are nearby. We could talk there." Every instinct told him to refuse. Her quarters meant her territory, her rules, her control. It was exactly the kind of situation he had been trying to avoid. But her expression was innocent enough, and she was right that the next day's meeting was important. He had seen the documents. There were tricky negotiations ahead. "Fine," he said. "But just for a short while, I am tired." Lyra smiled. It was a small smile, barely visible, but it sent a chill down his spine. "Of course," she said. "Just a short while." She turned and walked toward her quarters, and Taiho followed her, ignoring the voice in his head that told him he was making a mistake. He was too tired to listen to warnings. He was too tired to notice the look in her silver eyes. He was too tired to realize that he was walking straight into a trap that had been prepared for weeks. The door to her quarters slid open, and he stepped inside. Behind him, the door slid shut, and somewhere in the distance, Sunwise words echoed in his memory. "You are being hunted, brother." He had never believed it until now. Taiho knew immediately that something was wrong. Lyra's quarters did not look like an office. There was no desk covered with documents. There were no screens displaying tomorrow's schedule. Instead, there was a small table set for two, with candles that flickered gently in the dim light. Soft music played from somewhere, a melody he did not recognize but found strangely beautiful. The room smelled like flowers from a world he had never visited. This was not a work meeting. "Lyra," he said slowly, "what is this?" She walked past him, her silver hair catching the candlelight. "I thought we could have dinner while we talked. Is that not acceptable? You said we would discuss tomorrow's schedule, and we will." She gestured to the table. "Please, sit. The food is getting cold." Taiho did not sit. Instead, he took a step back, toward the door. "I think I should leave. This feels personal." Lyra did not argue. She simply walked toward the door, and for a moment Taiho felt relief. She was going to let him go. She understood that he was not ready for this. Then she walked past the door and touched a panel on the wall. There was a soft click. Taiho turned and looked at the door. He approached it, waved his hand in front of the sensor. Nothing happened. The door remained closed. "Valanthe quarters require biometric authorization to exit," Lyra said calmly. "I have not yet added your signature to the system." He stared at her. "You locked me in?" "I prefer to think of it as creating an opportunity for honest conversation." She sat down at the table and poured 2 glasses of something purple. "We have been dancing around this for weeks, Taiho. You avoid being alone with me. You keep your words professional. You pretend that you do not notice what is happening between us. Nothing is happening between us. That is a lie, and we both know it." Taiho felt his frustration rising. He was not used to being trapped, not used to losing control of a situation. He was an engineer. He solved problems. He found exits. But there was no exit here. Fine, he said. You want to talk? Let us talk. What do you want from me, Lyra? Really? I want you to listen. She pointed to the empty chair across from her. Please sit, eat, and listen. After I have said what I need to say, if you still want to leave, I will open the door and never speak of this again. He hesitated. Her silver eyes were steady, honest, without any sign of trickery. She was not playing games. She was not trying to manipulate him. She was just someone who wanted to be heard. Slowly, he walked to the table and sat down. The food was strange, but delicious. Taiho ate in silence as Lyra began to speak. Humans are special, Taiho. I do not say this to flatter you. I say it because it is true. When your species first made contact with the galactic community, many of us were curious. You were so young, so primitive compared to our ancient civilizations. We expected you to be simple. She laughed softly. We were wrong. What do you mean? Humans feel things that other species cannot understand. Your emotions are not weak, as we first thought. They are incredibly powerful. You form bonds that last beyond logic, beyond reason. You love so deeply that it changes you. You protect those you care about with a ferocity that frightens us. Lyra set down her glass and looked at him. And physically you are impossible. You survive damage that would kill us. You keep going when your body should stop. You have something inside you that refuses to quit, no matter how hard the universe pushes. Taiho shifted in his seat. He had heard some of this before, from other aliens who found humans fascinating. But hearing it from Lyra, in this moment, felt different. That is why humans are desired, she continued. Not as pets or curiosities, but as partners. A human bond is considered the rarest treasure in many cultures. Because when a human chooses you, truly chooses you, they do not change their minds. But I did not choose you, Taiho said quietly. No, you did not. Lyra's voice softened. And I cannot make you choose me. I would not want to. A forced bond is worthless. Then why all of this? He gestured at the room, the dinner, the locked door. Because I needed you to understand why I chose you. She leaned forward slightly. Not just any human, Taiho. I have watched you for months. I have seen how you treat the junior engineers, how you mentor them without expecting thanks. I have seen how you stay late to fix machines that others have given up on. I have seen your patience, your kindness, your quiet strength. She reached across the table and touched his hand. Her skin was cool against his warmth. You are not just a human. You are a good man. And I am asking you, not demanding, not tricking, but asking to give me one chance. 30 days. Let me show you who I am. Let me prove that we could be right for each other. If at the end of those 30 days you still want to walk away, I will let you go. No more transfers. No more arrangements. You will be free. Taiho looked at her hand on his. He thought about the past weeks, about how she had adapted to him, learned him, tried so hard to make him comfortable. He thought about how, despite his resistance, he had started to enjoy her company. He thought about how lonely he had been before all of this started. 30 days, he said. Her eyes widened slightly. You agree? I agree to give you a chance. He pulled his hand back gently. But I'm not promising anything. If this does not work, it ends cleanly. Lyra smiled, and for the first time, he saw genuine happiness on her face. It made her look younger, softer, more real. Thank you, Taiho. That is all I ask. She stood up and walked to the wall panel. With a touch, the door unlocked with a soft click. You are free to leave whenever you want, she said. Taiho looked at the open door. Then he looked at the food, still warm on the table. Then he looked at Lyra, waiting patiently for his decision. He stayed for dinner. The first week of the trial period was awkward. Taiho did not know how to act around Lyra anymore. She was no longer just his supervisor. She was something else, something he could not name. He felt like he was walking on ice, never sure when he might fall through. But Lyra made it easy. She did not push him. She did not demand romance or affection. She simply spent time with him, talked with him, listened to him. She asked about his life on Earth, his family, his dreams. She shared stories about her own world, about growing up as the daughter of a minor noble house, about choosing diplomacy over the comfortable life her family had planned for her. Slowly, the ice beneath his feet became solid ground. By the second week, Tai-Ho found himself looking forward to their evenings together. They would sit in the observation deck after work, watching the stars drift by, sharing meals that Lyra had specially prepared for human tastes. She'd learned to cook Korean food badly at first, but she improved quickly. Her determination to please him was almost frightening. "You do not have to work this hard," he told her one night. "I want to," she said simply. "Making you happy makes me happy." No one had ever said that to him before. Not with such honesty. Not with such certainty. Sunwoo noticed the change. "You are smiling more," he said during one of their drinking sessions. "You actually look happy. This is disturbing. Is it so strange for me to be happy?" "Yes." Sunwoo poured them both another drink. "So it is working." The trial period. Tai-Ho thought about it. He thought about how Lyra laughed at his terrible jokes. He thought about how she remembered every small thing he mentioned. He thought about how, when he was with her, the universe felt less cold and empty. "Maybe," he admitted. Sunwoo raised his glass. "Then I am happy for you, brother. Even if she did basically kidnap you into this relationship." "She did not kidnap me. She locked you in her room and forced you to listen to her feelings. That is at least half a kidnapping." Tai-Ho could not argue with that. By the third week, something had changed inside him. He no longer thought of the trial period as a test to be endured. He thought of it as time with Lyra, precious time that was running out too quickly. He found himself wanting to stay longer in the evenings, wanting to learn more about her, wanting to be closer. He was falling for her. He knew it. And strangely, he did not mind. Then Kale arrived. The Velalanthe noble came on a diplomatic transport, surrounded by servants and dressed in clothes that screamed wealth and power. He was tall, even taller than Lyra, with dark blue skin and eyes like cold stars. He walked into the station like he owned it. Tai-Ho watched from a distance as Kale approached Lyra in the diplomatic hall. They spoke in the Velanthe language, too fast for his translator to keep up, but he could read their body language. Lyra was tense, uncomfortable. Kale was confident, possessive. Later that night, Lyra came to him with troubled eyes. "Who was that?" Tai-Ho asked. "Kale of House Veron. Our families have old connections. When I was young, before I joined the diplomatic corps, there was an arrangement. A potential courtship contract." She paused. "I thought it was dissolved when I left home." Apparently, Kale disagrees. "What does he want?" Lyra's voice was flat. "He claims prior rights. He says our courtship is invalid because of the old arrangement." Tai-Ho felt something hot rise in his chest. It was anger, sudden and fierce, stronger than he expected. Can he do that? Just show up and claim you? In traditional Velanthe law, there is a mechanism for disputes. If two parties both claim courtship rights, one can challenge the other. She looked at him, and for the first time since he had met her, she looked afraid. "Kale has issued a challenge, Tai-Ho, against you." "What kind of challenge?" "A duel of endurance. A test of physical stamina and willpower. The one who falls first loses." Tai-Ho understood immediately. The Velanthe were famous for their endurance. They could run for days without rest. They could survive conditions that would kill most other species. In a test of stamina, a Velanthe would always win. "He expects me to refuse," Tai-Ho said. "Yes, if you refuse, he wins by default. The courtship ends, and he takes me back to our homeworld." Lyra took his hands. "Tai-Ho, you do not have to do this. You never agreed to any of this. You can walk away. I will not blame you." He looked at her. He saw the fear in her eyes, the resignation, the acceptance that she was about to lose everything she had worked for. She had fought so hard for this chance, adapted so much, given so much. And now a man from her past was trying to take it all away. Tai-Ho thought about the last 3 weeks. He thought about how Lyra had made him feel valued, wanted, seen. He thought about how empty his life had been before her. He thought about what kind of man he wanted to be. "When is the duel?" he asked. Lyra's eyes widened. "What? The duel? When is it?" "3 days from now. But Taiho, I will be there. You cannot win. He is Volanthi. His people are built for endurance. No other species has ever beaten them in this kind of challenge." Taiho smiled. It was a small smile, tired but determined. "Maybe," he said. "But has a Volanthi ever faced a human in one of these duels?" Lyra stared at him. Slowly, understanding dawned in her silver eyes. "Oh," she whispered. "They have not." "Then I guess we will find out what humans are really made of." He squeezed her hands and walked away, leaving her standing in the corridor, hope blooming on her face for the first time in hours. 3 days. 3 days to prepare for the most important fight of his life. Taiho had faced worse odds before, and he had never been good at giving up. The arena was filled with spectators from every corner of the station. Word had spread quickly about the duel. A human challenging a Volanthi noble in a test of endurance. Most came expecting to see a quick defeat. Some came hoping for a miracle. All of them wanted to witness history. Taiho stood on one side of the arena, wearing simple training clothes. Across from him, Kale stood tall and proud, his dark blue skin gleaming under the lights. He looked at Taiho with a mixture of amusement and contempt. "You should not have come, human," Kale said, loud enough for everyone to hear. "This will only bring you shame." Taiho did not answer. He was saving his energy. The rules were simple. Both competitors would run on identical tracks that circled the arena. They would keep running until one of them could not continue. No breaks. No water. No rest. The last one standing won. Kale was confident. His species had evolved on a harsh world where survival meant moving constantly across endless plains. Volanthi could run for 3 days without stopping. Their bodies were designed for exactly this kind of challenge. But Kale had never studied humans. The signal sounded, and they began to run. The first hour passed quickly. Both runners maintained a steady pace, their footsteps echoing through the arena. The crowd watched with mild interest, waiting for the real contest to begin. By the second hour, the first signs of strain appeared. Taiho's breathing grew heavier. Sweat poured down his face and soaked his clothes. His legs ached, and his lungs burned. Every instinct in his body screamed at him to stop. He did not stop. Kale glanced at him with growing curiosity. Most species would have collapsed by now. Even other Volanthi would be showing fatigue at this pace. But the human kept running, his face twisted with pain but his legs still moving. The third hour came and went. Then the fourth. Then the fifth. The crowd grew silent. They had expected entertainment, a brief spectacle before the obvious outcome. Instead, they were witnessing something they could not explain. Taiho was suffering. Anyone could see that. His body was pushing past every limit it had. He stumbled several times, but always caught himself. His pace slowed, but never stopped. His eyes were fixed on something beyond the arena, beyond the pain, beyond the moment. He was thinking about Lyra. He was thinking about the first time she smiled at him, about the dinners they shared, about the way she looked at the stars with wonder in her eyes, about how she had changed his lonely life into something worth fighting for. He was not running for victory. He was running for her. The 6th hour passed. Kale was no longer amused. His own body was beginning to feel the strain, something that rarely happened. He pushed harder, trying to break away, trying to force the human to give up. Taiho matched him step for step. In the crowd, Sunwoo was screaming himself hoarse. "Come on, Taiho. Show them what we are made of." Other humans in the audience joined in. Then aliens who had worked with humans, who had seen their impossible stubbornness, who had heard stories of human persistence. The chanting grew louder, filling the arena with thunder. Lyra stood at the edge of the arena, her hands clasped together, tears streaming down her blue cheeks. She had never believed in miracles before, but watching Taiho run, watching him refuse to fall, she began to believe. The 7th hour ended. The 8th hour began. Kale stumbled. It was small, just a slight hesitation in his stride, but everyone saw it. The invincible Velanathi was weakening. His cold confidence had been replaced by confusion and something else. Fear. He had underestimated humans. He had not known about their history as persistence hunters, about how their ancestors had chased prey across vast distances until the prey collapsed from exhaustion. He had not known that the human body was not built for speed, but for endurance, for outlasting, for never giving up. He had not known that humans were the most stubborn creatures in the galaxy. At the end of the 8th hour, Kale's legs gave out. He crashed to the ground and did not get up. His servants rushed to help him, but the damage was done. The duel was over. Taiho kept running for 3 more steps before his mind caught up with reality. He stopped, swayed on his feet, and looked around in confusion. "Winner," the announcer declared, his voice filled with disbelief. "The human Taiho." The arena exploded with noise. Humans cheered and hugged each other. Aliens who had bet against Taiho stared in shock. History had been made. A human had beaten a Valenthea in their own game. Taiho collapsed to his knees. His body was finished, completely empty. But he was smiling. He woke up in the medical bay, with Lyra sitting beside his bed. "How long was I out?" he asked, his voice rough. 16 hours? She took his hand in hers. "The doctors say you pushed your body beyond what should have been possible. They do not understand how you did it." "I had something to run for." Lyra's eyes filled with tears again. "Why, Taiho? You did not have to do this." "We barely know each other. Our trial period was not even finished. That is why I did it." He squeezed her hand weakly. "You asked for a chance. You asked me to give you a real answer. Winning this duel is my answer." She stared at him for a long moment. Then she leaned down and kissed him gently on the forehead. "Thank you," she whispered. A week later, when Taiho had recovered enough to walk, he found himself in Lyra's quarters again. The same table, the same candles, the same view of the stars. But this time, he was not trapped. This time, he had chosen to be there. "Could add my biometrics to the door now," he said, "so I can come and go freely." Lyra smiled, a mischievous glint in her silver eyes. "I already did. 3 weeks ago," Taiho laughed. It was a real laugh, full of warmth and happiness, something he had not felt in years. The door clicked softly behind him. He did not even look back. He was exactly where he wanted to be.